breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. This is the Daily Ledger Show, and I am your host, Dennis Sert. Good to be with you here today. Good morning to everybody. I had a little hiatus for a few days, but good to be back. And got some stories for us today. So let's just jump in. All right, so let's start with the government shutdown. So it seems like the continuing resolution was passed. It passed the Senate, that is, and now it's in the House where it's expected to be passed as well. And then it seems like President Trump is going to sign it rather than veto it. And so let's look at this New York Times article. Trump administration live updates House to take up bill to end shutdown. The House of Representatives will return to session on Wednesday, so they're voting on it today, as lawmakers take up legislation to end the longest government shutdown in American history. The bill, which passed the Senate on Monday, has sizable momentum, and its approval by the House would clear it for President Trump's signature. Okay, so it looks like they're about to open it back up. Apparently, they didn't do many concessions on it. So that being, there were a few, but it doesn't seem like it was anything particularly big that I suppose the Democrats got. So it looks like the Democrats wanted basically enhanced premium tax credits for the Affordable Care Act. And it looks like this continuing resolution deal did not extend those credits. And they wanted a few other things. It seems like that they didn't get. What they did get, though, is that seems like, well, first of all, the continuing resolution only goes until January 30th, 2026. So it's just like about a month and a half of reprieve. And then looks like they're funding these appropriation bills for the Department of Agriculture, Military Construction and Veterans Affairs, and the legislative branch. It's part of this like so-called minibus. And then I guess one of the biggest things the Democrats got was the bill reverses layoffs that were initiated by the administration during the government shutdown period. So looks like it guarantees back pay for those furloughed federal employees and those required to work without pay. So I guess there was some of that going on, but anyways, so that's kind of an in the weeds analysis of what went down. So that's what happened. So I'm just glad that, this is sort of getting over with, because I mean, obviously there were a lot of delays with flights. People weren't getting paid, especially air traffic controllers. I mean, I don't know what was going on in January of this year where like all these like planes started crashing and stuff and helicopters, but I was really hoping we didn't see that again. And I mean, when you can't pay air traffic controllers, I mean, it's not very good. Obviously, it's kind of a recipe for disaster. So I'm glad that after it seems like the government shutdown lasted, well, technically it's still in effect, but lasted 43 days. I'm glad it's kind of ending. So that's good. Okay. And let's see what else we can talk about. Let's jump to the story about Coinbase. So it seems like, this article's title is why Coinbase sees greener pastures in Texas. So it seems like what happened was, and this just broke today, Coinbase has filed with the SEC that it's leaving Delaware and reincorporating in Texas, which has become an increasingly attractive hub for innovative companies like ours. So I guess this is what Coinbase is saying. So that's kind of interesting because, I don't think Coinbase is particularly political. And so it's interesting that they sort of decided to reincorporate in Texas. And it kind of shows a shift of what's going on like across the spectrum here of like companies. Because Tesla also did exactly the same, obviously. Yeah, and we may be seeing startup founders incorporating in Texas now rather than Delaware, which would be a shift here. So that's kind of interesting. So it's talking about a little bit about it. As a lawyer who's practiced for many years on King Street in Wilmington, Delaware, I'm saddened by the need to depart. For decades, Delaware was known for predictable court outcomes, respect for judgment of corporate boards, and speedy resolutions. These trades made the state the one-stop shop for major company and corporations, which have brought in more than $1 billion in annual revenue to the state. Okay, so I guess I didn't elaborate past that. But it's a shame it's come to this, but Delaware has left us no choice. So it seems like there's some sort of a feud. They didn't. The author Paul Grewald in particular seems to care to go into detail about, but that's okay. But yeah, so obviously Coinbase, for whatever reason, felt the need to leave. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. Okay, I have one thing left that I want to talk about before we dive into some trades with Byte AI, and this is a bit lighter, but this is basically a new target policy to smile at customers within 10 feet. So the article title is New Target Directive Requires Employees to Smile and Greet Customers Within 10 Feet, reports say. Wow. A new store mandate will reportedly require employees at a popular retail chain to smile at customers. Target's new policy for employees will require them to smile, make eye contact, and greet or wave at all shoppers who come within 10 feet, according to reporters from Bloomberg and USA Today. This is really funny because obviously, like, not to explain the joke, but I feel like companies shouldn't really feel the need to do that. I feel like that should come from the employees themselves anyway. And you know what's kind of funny? Like, they should really what would be funny is if they had extended this to like college campuses, because at least my experience on college, you know, in my senior year when we were back on campus, and I had a ton of friends and everything, right? But it's like when you're, I guess, like walking to lecture and you see a lot of like randos, basically it's really funny because like in California where I'm from, it's kind of like, I think it's the weather. People are much warmer to each other. They're just like, oh, hey, how's it going? Even if you don't know each other, right? So I went to school in Boston at MIT, and it's like, you know, obviously the weather's worse, a lot colder, everything. The people are also really cold. I've heard it's called the northeastern attitude, but it's really just like deadpan, just like, you know, walking around like this, you know, just like, you know, oh man, you know, like you're walking to lecture, you kind of take a quick glance to see if you know them, and it's like, I hate your guts. And like, oh my God, like chill out, bro. Like, it ain't that deep. I'm just walking to lecture here, you know? Like, anyways. Yeah, so it's actually really funny. But no, it's, you know, when you're not walking to class and you're in a more like environment conducive to like, let's call it networking, people open up a little bit more, especially with a little bit of, you know, conversation starter, if you will. Like a need to talk. If it's like an event or something, people tend to open up a little bit more. So it's not always like that. But yeah, so coming back to the point though, Target directs employees to smile and greet customers within 10 feet. They should have that at college campuses too. Okay. Alrighty. So that's that. Let's switch to Byte AI. So quick plug here. Make sure to download Byte AI. It's available as an iOS app, and you can also access it as a web app, as we're doing here. It's available on byteai.me. So that's BYTEAI.me. And if you use the referral code podcast20, you can get 20% off. And that's through the Stripe checkout if you choose to do it through the web app. So that's kind of something you can only use through the web app only. Yeah, so make sure to do that. So let's kind of dive in here, and I kind of want to discuss any of the non-neutral ones. So first, so let's talk about Amazon. Okay, so Amazon shows an underbought setup with RSI 44.3, indicating room for a mean reversion towards the mid-band. MACD is near the signal line with a slight bearish tilt, suggesting limited near-term upside. Bollinger Bands are narrow, and the price sits well within the bands, implying typical market conditions with low volatility and no current breakout. Okay, so, So let's see. So it goes in a little bit. Overall, Amazon's sentiment is mixed to cautiously bullish. Recent coverage highlights earnings momentum and AI-driven growth as bullish catalysts, while several pieces remain neutral due to ongoing cloud retail competition and valuation concerns. Okay. Very nice. Alrighty then. I think I'm going to go ahead and buy on that then. Remember, this is not stock advice or trading advice, and past success doesn't guarantee future results. It's like we're 0.68 down today. Okay, and remember, we're trying to minimize any losses as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and buy some Amazon here. Nice. Alrighty. Yeah. Okay, let's see what's going on. Oh, it looks like Nvidia is also underbought. Nvidia is an extreme underbought setup, RSI around 30, indicating a strong oversold condition, and the price is near the lower Bollinger Band with a narrow bandwidth, suggesting a potential mean reversion bounce. The MACD is near the signal line with a slight bearish tilt, signaling limited momentum in the near term, but the overall price shows resilience. Okay. Yeah, so 30 is pretty low, so that would mean that it's underbought. Nvidia remains at the center of AI demand, with several articles highlighting upcoming Q3 earnings and investor interest, keeping sentiment mildly bullish. Okay, very nice. So it goes into that. Yeah, all right. Nvidia. All right, let's get some of that guy. Nice. All right. Okay, well, those were all of the non-neutrals, which I'll leave for now. Cool. So I think we'll leave it there for today. Make sure to download Byte AI, and you can do this all day rather than just with me here this morning. Cool. I think we're gonna end it there, folks. Have a great rest of your day, and make sure to make tons of money out there. See ya.